Guys, my name is James Colodges, and I just want to talk to you guys a little bit about the fishing industry. Fishing obviously is a very, very viable source of food. In recent time, has become a very, very important source of income for a lot of people in a lot of countries. But with so many people involved and so much money involved, obviously we have the risk of poachers and people that are not going to follow the rules and essentially help deplete the oceans, which is a very, very important thing to us. Last year, 154 million tons of fish was harvested all over the world. That's thanks to the Fish and Wildlife Conservation. Only 137 million tons of that was used for food. The other 17 million tons was for sharks for their fins or their jaws, billfish for their bills, and turtles for their shells, which they essentially take what they want, throw the rest of the animal back. It is wasted, it is killed, and is really affecting the oceans. This inspires countries like Panama. They want to get involved in the industry, but they have very strict guidelines from the Fish and Wildlife Conservation, and they follow these guidelines, and they stay in check, and they stay in code, and that country is thriving off the fishing industry. As I'm a fisherman myself, and I strictly do billfish tournaments, which is all catch and release, and you can obviously control which fish you catch. If I'm on a rod and reel, I'm catching a millionth of a percentage of what commercial fishermen are catching in their nets and in their traps. Obviously, on a rod and reel, I can look at the species, I can measure it, see if it is of size, if it is a legal species to kill, and let the species go if not. In nets and traps, most of the times the fish is already drowned, it has died, it is killed. If it's undersized, if it's pregnant, if it's illegal to kill, it doesn't matter. They just throw it back, and the fish is obviously a complete waste. And the industry has climbed so much in recent years. In 1970, it was 0.7 kilograms of fish per capita per week. In 2006, that number climbed all the way to 7.8 kilograms per capita per week. So obviously it is times tenfold, not only in the population, but also in the amount per person. So the population increasing, plus people are eating more fish, is a very, very, very strong effect on the oceans. And this is when you want to save the seas, and you want to come to fish farms. Fish farms are obviously where you raise fish for the sole purpose of consumption. These species such as catfish, tilapia, salmon are the most common for fish farms. And they actually 50% of the world's fish consumption is from fish farms. And that number jumps all the way to 90% when it comes to U.S. consumption. This helps save species, such as the catfish, tilapia, and salmon in the wild. However, other species such as mahi-mahi, wahoo, tuna, and billfish are high migratory species. They travel thousands of miles a year. They migrate from the north, from Maine all the way down to Fort Lauderdale, the Bahamas, down to off the coast of South America. These fish travel at an exorbitant amount of rates, and they're very, very fast growing, which is good for consumption. They say a 30-pound mahi-mahi is roughly 12 to 18 months old. So obviously that fish is growing from, 2 inches to 3 feet long and producing 20 to 25 pounds of meat in only a year. Those are species you're not very worried about being endangered with. However, the billfish, especially the sailfish, is one of the most affected fish from all of this. They're not even an edible fish. People kill them for their bills. They saw their bills off and they put them on the wall and they paint them for decorations and whatnot. Obviously, the whole fish is wasted. It's very, really crucial to help stop all of this and work with the FWC, which is the Fish and Wildlife Conservation, and try and control the people that poach these fish. When it comes to the Fish and Wildlife, they have very, very, very strict rules. If you are undersized with the species you've killed, if you have too many, if the species is pregnant and it's illegal to kill while pregnant, they have serious, serious fines and punishments. I've seen people that have lost a $250,000 boat taken away, $50,000 in fishing supplies. They have been fined another $50,000. They've spent 5 years in jail, all from even killing one billfish, such as a marlin. They will spend years in jail, and they do not mess around with this stuff. But people still find a way to poach. And the main thing for law enforcement is they have to make themselves seen, make themselves be out there, so people see them and they get nervous about, okay, I don't want to do this. I'm going to get in trouble. I fish out of Port Everglades, which is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I fish about 2 to 3 days a week, so about 8 to 12 times a month. I get pulled over 2 or 3 times a month. So I get pulled over about 20% of the time and checked for all my licenses, my catch, if everything's legal, if everything's okay. And it's kind of funny because you get to know the guys. They tell you stories about what has happened to other people and what other people do. And it's the main thing is the law enforcement has to make themselves known. If you go out and you're going to try and poach something and you know that there's 20% chance that you're going to get pulled over and get in trouble, you're obviously not going to go out and try and poach and kill things. And you got to make sure you got to have the necessary permits. You have to, if you're going to go catch lobster, you have to have a lobster permit. If you're going to go harvest snook, you have to have a snook permit. If you're going to go harvest mahi, wahoo, or tuna or billfish, which are the most popular fish in the sea to harvest because they're a great taste and pretty common to find, you have to have a high migratory species permit. If you do not have that permit, you're going to get in trouble. It's essentially the same as fishing without a fishing license. As far as lobster goes, you have 6 lobster per person per boat with a 36 limit. 36 lobster per boat limit at the max. And if I go out with 6 people, but only 3 people have fishing licenses, I can only harvest 18 lobster. Meaning I can't harvest 36 because I have 6 people in my boat, and a lot of people don't understand that. And this is why law enforcement needs to have more meetings, make people more aware of the rules and the guidelines. And obviously, this conservation is very, very important to our existence. I mean, 71% of the world is covered in water. 71%. That's 3/4 of the world is covered in water. We gotta conserve the seas. We gotta help, for our children and grandchildren to go out and want to be on the ocean and catch fish and have a good time. It's all about conservation. Always on us. If you've never even been fishing and something looks suspicious when you're on a dock walking around and some guy's got a lot of fish, just call law enforcement. They'll be more than happy to come check it, make sure the guy's within the guidelines, and if he's not, obviously he's going to get punished, and he needs to be because the ocean's very, 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 very important to us. It's vital to our existence, and we got to help protect it. And thank you guys, and hope you learned something today.